Hey, it's John from Electric Copy. Welcome to the third and final part of my Snaptivity copy breakdown, where we are working on improving the website copy of this new and original technology product. Now, in this video, we're going to be looking at some credibility boosting stats on the page, a form and some calls to action, and we're looking at a part of the website that explains how the reader would get started with this product. So this form actually seems to be aimed at fans rather than sports venues. So I guess even though this site is primarily aimed at sports venues, Snaptivity, the company, is anticipating that also some fans might hear about this technology and come and check the website out. And I think what happens is, if they fill in this form and say, hey, my local sports venue doesn't have Snaptivity, but I'd love to see it there, then it means that the company can then go to that venue and say, hey, we've had people reach out to us on our website who want to see our technology in your venue. What's tricky about this, though, is that the rest of the site is aimed at sports venues. So this section of copy here, even though there isn't much, needs to make it clear that this is in fact talking to the fans. So I'm going to update this just so it literally directly says, "Are you a fan that loves to relive incredible watching moments?" And then, we'll just make this second line a little bit clearer, because vote for a stadium near you almost sounds like, I don't know, they're voting for their favorite rather than requesting Snaptivity in a specific venue. So let's just make this a little bit clearer. And then, you generally get a good conversion rate with calls to action when they are linked to the subheading above. So if I could edit this text, maybe I can. It looks like I can. Yep, I would try and make it kind of connected to the copy above. So we'll just say request Snaptivity. There we go. Now it's all linked together nicely. Okay, getting closer to the end now. As we scroll down this section here, we have another three blocks here that again seem to be almost like a how it works explanation. But I don't think that's what they're really trying to do. We've already talked quite a lot about how it works. I think what this section is trying to do is really just show how easy it is to get set up with Snaptivity and to start using it. So they've broken the process down into 3 stages, which is a smart thing to do. You want to show people how they would get started with this and how easy it is. But we have a few problems here. First of all, we have another subheading that seems a bit that doesn't really explain or entice the reader, and it doesn't really seem connected to the rest of the copy. So we need to do something to improve this here. And then we also have some problems with these subheadings, which is the same kind of thing. They're just not really specific enough to be particularly meaningful. So we need to see how we can improve these. So because we're now trying to talk to people who are interested and are thinking about going ahead with this, I think we need to try and capture the attention of those people and show them that we're going to tell them how they would get started. So I would suggest we change this to something like want to get Snaptivity in your venue. And then, if I don't want Snaptivity in my venue, then I'm just going to ignore this. But if I am someone who's starting to think about, hey, maybe I do want this, this is going to make it very clear that I need to read this section. But thinking about this again, this is okay, but maybe there's a way we can add just a little bit more hype and a little bit more energy and just make this headline that little bit more exciting. So maybe we could, instead of this, maybe we could go with something like ready to revolutionize your sports venue. I think that could work. Thinking about it one more time, we could once again try and reflect the kind of sports theme here as we tried to do earlier on in the page, and just make the copy a little bit more fun by saying something like we could say, want to get Snaptivity on your team. Okay, I think that will still get the point across, and now we're adding that little bit of kind of sports themed fun to the copy as well. So I think that works well. So now we have this kind of subline here, which is kind of explaining what people are about to read on the right. That's generally, this is okay, but I mean the start of the sentence here is a little bit boring. It's a little bit dry, and it's not really adding anything. So let's get rid of this and add something else. I'm going to pause while I do this. And boom, here we go. Drive massive fan engagement and create new revenue boosts in 3 simple steps. So we're still introducing the 3 simple steps, but again, we're just using every opportunity we have to remind them of the value that this product offers, and keep reminding them of how this is going to help their business. Okay, so now we move on to these 3 steps here. And, we always want to make the journey easy for our readers. And so I'm thinking, if this is meant to be showing them how this is a 3-step process, why don't we make it kind of even easier for people to understand what they're seeing here by actually adding numbers. So now we're really driving home this concept that it's a 3-step process. Okay, but let's have a look at them. The first one we have here. The first one is install Snaptivity's IoT sensors, blah, 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 blah. Now, we've already kind of talked about the sensors and robotic cameras, so maybe we don't need to do that at this point. But, if we're trying to tell the story of how easy it is to get set up with this technology, why don't we focus on that specifically and talk about how you would get set up with this. And we can do that by saying this: we set up Snaptivity's IoT sensors and robotic cameras in as little as 1 month. Now, I don't know that it only takes a month. I'm just guessing at something there. But the point is, by being specific about the time frame, we really show people that it is something that you can do quite quickly. And for all I know, maybe it's even faster than that. Okay, so in this middle section here, we have engage, and then we have more talk about integrating Snaptivity's API. I think what they're really trying to get across is about how you would get fans to start using this technology, and they're kind of saying that at the end here. But I think rather than going into this kind of techie talk, that I think is probably best kept to the behind the scenes conversation between the venue's tech staff and the people at Snaptivity, we can keep it a little bit more simple here and just talk about how you would engage with the fans and get them to start using this technology. So invite fans. Events. This is why I've been pausing, so you guys don't have to watch me typing every line out and making lots of mistakes. Okay, here we go. So that's number 2. Now, the last one in this section is number 3, measure. So now we're talking about how every fan gets a feed of his or her photos to share. Now, the problem here is, we're not really telling a coherent story, because this body copy seems to be about how everyone gets their photos, and then the subheading says measure, and there's nothing about anything being measured here, so it's a bit confusing actually, and we don't really know what is being measured, which means we either need to update the subheading or update the body copy. Now, I think what they're trying to talk about is that you probably can measure, how many fans shared photos from the app or things like that. But I don't think that's the interesting thing about this technology in terms of, the last stage in this process. I think the last stage in the process is actually that the venues are able to make more money because they can charge their sponsors more money. So I think we need to change this copy to reflect that, and I'm going to pause while I do that. Okay, and here we go with a new line. So the subheading is now profit, and the body copy talks about venues using Snaptivity report significant revenue boosts and increased numbers of sponsors. Now, the reason I have talked about venues who are using Snaptivity reporting X, Y, and Z is that we could say, hey, use Snaptivity and get revenue boosts and increased numbers of sponsors, but you have to be very careful saying things like that, because it sounds like you're making a promise that this app is this technology is going to give you revenue boosts, and if it doesn't give a venue a revenue boost, this company could end up being sued and getting in a lot of trouble. But at least if you're saying it this way, I'm not a lawyer, but at least if you're saying it this way, you're not directly saying this is going to make your money. You're just saying other people have, and hopefully that implies that other companies who start using this technology will have the same result. So it's a bit more of a safe way to remind people of the end result, the end outcome of them using Snaptivity. So this subheading here, if we just talk about this for a second, this is a subheading that's intended to entice. We're really talking about a nice positive benefit here. Some people might find this a little bit too on the nose. Maybe it's a little bit too bold to specifically say profit. So maybe we want to dial this back a little bit. So instead of saying profit, we could just say win, and then that ties in again with a nice kind of sports theme we've tried to add to this copy at times. Okay, so I think if we look through this section now, it's a lot more clear. It's a lot more. It's telling a much more compelling story about how you get set up and then start using this technology to get a new outcome in your business. Okay, so we're nearly at the end now. Let's move on a little bit. We're just going to have a look at these last 3 sections here. So let's just very quickly talk about this. This is actually, it looks like a subheading, but it's actually a link. And if I click through here, it takes me to another page, which as soon as it loads up, seems to be just giving us some more information on the kind of like the benefits of using this app. But it's not very compelling as a bit of copy that would entice people to actually click through and visit this next page. Because it doesn't really tell us anything about what's on the next page. So if we really want to guide people through the site and tempt them to click and learn more, we need to think about how we can use this line to do that as well. So let me pause and I'll show how we can do that. Okay, and here's how we can do that. We just very straight to the point about what's actually on the next page. The next page seems to have 5 paragraphs of information, so we're just going to directly say 5 ways that sponsors, agencies, and venues benefit from Snaptivity. And just to make it really clear that this is actually a link and not a heading, we'll put a little something at the end here, just to show that it's a link. Or we could even think about saying, click to see 5 ways, blah blah blah. I don't really like doing that, writing click to see, but it would make it clear that this is actually a link. Okay, onto this section here. Now we have another thing saying how does it work? But again, if you actually read the copy, the story being told isn't about how the overall technology works. It's specifically about how it manages to capture the crowd photos at just the right moment. And that is one of the most interesting and unique things about this technology. So it is worth having its own section on the website. But in this case, we just need to update this subheading so it makes it a little bit more clear what this section is actually about. All right, so this is how I would improve this headline. Nothing major, but it just makes it a bit clearer what we're seeing in this section. Now the body copy here, this isn't perfect, but it does a pretty good job of explaining how the technology captures the action at just the right moments. It does have some basic grammar mistakes, but I'm not here to teach you how to get the basics of writing right. So I'll just pause it and make some very small changes that you can look at if you want to. Okay, so now I've just tweaked this copy just to make it a little bit more punchy and clean up a couple of grammar mistakes. One thing I will say is that the original copy mentioned that the system collects multiple data points, and I've kept that in here. But in a situation like this where you're talking about multiple data points, it makes sense to actually talk about what they are, because that's something that's very interesting about this system, that it's got an AI capability that collects specific information. Now, obviously, on a homepage like this and in a quick paragraph like this, you haven't got time to necessarily go into detail. But if I was creating this site, I would think about creating a link here that goes off to another page with more details on that. Because when we're creating home pages, we're really creating the foundation for different journeys through the website, and we want to help people who visit the site find their way through the site to the information that's most interesting or relevant to them. So that's one way you can do that, is include some links where it's relevant. Okay, very last section that we're going to look at here is just these quick stats that we have here. Now, stats like these are really compelling and can be as convincing as some of the longer body copy sections that we have above. But the problem again we have here is that these aren't very specific. Now I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I don't actually know what they would want to say here. But the way I would improve these is, as we talked about earlier on, is just try and get a bit more specific. So here we're talking about average engagement. Now what does that mean? What does engagement actually mean? It might be that this means 40% of event attendees download the app, the Snaptivity app. And then we might say here something about 64% of event attendees with the app share photos from the event, or just 64% of fans share photos, whatever it might be. The point is that even in sections like this where we're not necessarily always thinking about how we're wording the copy, people will read these. People will scan read and have a look at these numbers, and that this is a chance to impress people even more. So even in these very small parts of microcopy on the site, it still makes sense to be as specific as we can, and make sure we're using every opportunity to persuade people about how great this product is. Okay, and that's the last part of the site. that we're going to look at. There is some kind of small copy down here, but nothing else nothing else major that we would want to work on. We do have some micro copy at the bottom of the site here, but this video has been pretty long already, and we've already looked at what are really the important parts of this homepage. So I think now is a good time to wrap it up, but I hope this has been helpful to you. Today we've seen how making the copy a lot more specific can make the messaging a lot more clear and compelling. We've seen how to introduce a website so that people immediately understand what's going on and why they should read on when they land on a website. And we've also learned how to make copy a lot more scan readable by improving the subheadings. So I hope that's helpful to you if you're working on your copywriting skills. If you'd like to see more from me, please subscribe to the channel below. And you can also click the link to my website and subscribe to my email newsletter. All right, that's it from me. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next time.